Every business course I've ever seen says pick a niche. And if you're like me, that's like asking you to pick your favorite child. Come think of it, I only have one child. But if you have multiple interests, passions, skills, or indeed children, you are in trouble. Because traditional business advice doesn't work for people like you and people like me, people who cannot choose a single path. In this video, I'm going to share the 4 types of multi-passionate businesses and how you can build one that fits your energy rather than the other way around. For decades, I thought I had a focus problem. I was a non-profit leader, I worked in journalism for a bit, I worked in music and art and film. I was a teacher, I even flipped shoes on eBay for a while back in 2001 when it wasn't a thing that was cool to tell your parents that you did. Up until a couple of years ago, I thought there was something wrong with me, and well, maybe there is, but it's not this, because this mixture of roles, this mixture of ideas and passions, it's not a flaw. I realized it was training for the person I've become, the person I've become today. These days I coach leaders and founders from across all sectors: art, music, film, journalism, social change. I've over 700 hours of doing that. I've raised over $30 million in philanthropic funding for organizations in the last 10 years as a fundraiser. I've got 500,000 streams on Spotify for my music project in the last couple of years. And now I'm pivoting into making this YouTube channel, which, all right, it's only got 600 subscribers, but it is a start. The point is that I've managed to turn career chaos into some kind of clarity. I work 25 hours a week and I've built a business that pays the bills, more or less. I've got no trust fund or inheritance thing to fall back on, so that's really, really important for me. But mostly, I'm not really worrying about money. And more importantly than that, I'm really, really happy with my work and life balance. I get to spend a lot of time with my family and getting to do the things that I love. Most multi-passionate people don't get to that point. They either don't manage to even choose a path to launch a business in the first place, or they get trapped by one role or job, or they completely burn themselves out. I know because I've been there. Here's how not to let that happen to you. If you're multi-passionate, you will have been told at one point in your life to focus, to niche down. But that advice is great for specialists, but not generalists. It's great if you love to deep dive, but if you're a scanner, if you're constantly curious, it's not always appropriate for you. Folks like us, we're not indecisive, we're just really, really curious, and we optimize learning above all else. Because of that, we need to think of entrepreneurship in radically different ways. We need to build radically different businesses. The frameworks that we're given by the business community just don't work for us. And this is where the work of Emily Wapnick fits in. She wrote a book. It's called How to Be Everything, and I've read it, I don't know, 10 times, 100 times. I come back to it time and again because in it she outlines the 4 types of career archetypes if you are multi-potentialite or multi-passionate. I'm going to take those 4 archetypes and translate them slightly for multi-passionate businesses and show you what the 4 types of multi-passionate businesses are, the pros, cons, and how you can get started in building one that suits you, your energy, your goals, and your life. The first type of multi-potentialite business is the Phoenix. This is where you essentially commit to something for a short amount of time, could be a few months, probably a few years, maybe longer. You work really intensely on that project and then you switch to something completely different. You essentially burn it down and a new project or idea or passion emerges out of the ashes like a phoenix. This can be anything, a startup, a short-term contract, a very specific project. It doesn't really matter. The idea is the same thing. You time box it, you work very intensely, and then you move on. There are lots of pros to adopting a Phoenix model. Firstly, you essentially get full immersion in that mission for the time that you're working on it. It's a pseudo specialization. You can go pretty deep in something in a few years. You can gain a lot of knowledge and really embrace the tough learning curve that people like you and me love, that multi-passionate people need. It really sates your curiosity. And the good thing is that you don't have this commitment to work on something for 20 or 25 years. The kind of retention idea, the idea that you're going to move on, is like baked in, so you're not fearing it, which is really, really fantastic. It's one of the best long-term approaches for avoiding boredom or drift. However, there are some downsides to the Phoenix model too, of course. One of the cons is that it can really lead you to burnout. You can move very quickly between projects, and it can get exhausting feeling like a beginner all the time. I've found that I have to take 3 to 6 months gaps between those jobs. I have to save up extra money. That can make things a little bit tighter. And often during those gaps, I just had one now where I've been transitioning from being a kind of full-time consultant into doing more content creation. I took a month off, and during that month, or at least when I came back, I had this real sense of like an identity crisis, like what the hell am I doing with my life? There can be a lot of pressure to make it in a short amount of time, and I don't know, like my YouTube numbers are not great at the minute, and that can feel really tough, but I have to remind myself I've been doing this for 6 months. I'm just a beginner. So that's the Phoenix. Start a new project, work really intensely, burn it all down, and then begin again. Like I said, it's not for everybody. It's quite energy intensive, and if it's not for you, doesn't sound right for you, then maybe the slash business is what you need to build. Building a slash business involves running multiple projects at once with multiple income streams, and you divide up your attention between all of them. So for instance, I am these days a coach, an advisor, a writer, a filmmaker, and a musician. Those are my income streams. They're not completely evenly split, and I think about my attention in different ways, but my identity is very much a kind of multi-hyphenate identity where I talk about myself as those 5 or 6 things. The slash method is great for you if you thrive on variety, you need constant stimulation, and you want constant novelty in your life. You get to pick on what you want to work on, and you don't need to choose a single identity, a single path. If you are drawn towards writing and photography, you can play with both of those things equally. And something magic happens when you really lean into this, because it starts to add up to be more than the sum of its parts. Like right now, I've got my coaching, my advising, my YouTube, and my writing, and they're all around more or less the same topic of being multi-passionate. And I start to see people move between those communities, to start to see people join the dots, and the whole thing starts to become more than the sum of its parts. There's an added bonus too, that if market forces shift, like it did with me recently, a lot of my people that I was working with were from non-profits, and a lot of the funding moved out of the sector. Well, it gives you a backup, it gives you something else to work on. It's not like you have all of your eggs in a single startup basket, which can be dangerous. There are downsides to the slash method too, of course. Overcommitment is a real danger. You can kind of commit to too many things, burn out very easily. You have to be really, really good at managing your time and attention, otherwise it just becomes completely fragmented and you start putting too much energy into the wrong stuff. It also becomes a lot harder to explain what it is that you do. It's taken me a couple of years to realize that multi-potentialism and multi-passionate ideas are the glue between the things that I'm working on, but even now I'm still not totally down with that as a definition, and it doesn't always resonate with people. If the slash method sounds like it's going to be too hard for you, then I've got another option. Number 3, the group hug. The group hug model of building a business is where you commit to one long-term project that is essentially a container for all of your creativity and interests. It's one thing, and you can do everything inside that role. So quite often running a startup is like that. You might be doing some marketing, you might be doing some tech. Doing YouTube is a bit like that. You get to do the writing, you get to do the filming, the editing, the promotion. You can do that on multiple interests. Journalism or writing is also a great source for this type of group hug model. As your role evolves, as the business evolves, the container stays the same, but you get the stimulation and interest of learning new things within inside that one thing. The pros of the group hug model is that you can find this sometimes in companies, but you can also find it in a business that you build yourself. You want one single mission, but you want a container to pour into all of your interests and creative outputs. It becomes a lot easier to build an audience like that because you have a single identity. It might be an agency, it might be a brand that you work underneath. That makes it a lot easier to tell your story. It makes it a lot easier to build an audience and momentum. You don't always feel like you're starting again. Lots of benefits to this method. You get to grow with the business rather than restart every single time. And that's great if you love variety and you also want stability. There are downsides to the group hug model, of course. You can find yourself sometimes trapped in this role. You can spend a lot of time building something and then realize, actually, this isn't for me, or it's not allowing me as much creative expression as I wanted. And then you're a bit stuck. It can also feel really slow at the start. You might not be making the progress that you want to make, and it can sometimes get a bit bloated as well. You can end up doing a lot of stuff that you don't really want to do, and that ends up taking on a lot of your time. So it's a complex one to design, but if you can get it right, it can be perfect for some people. And if that one and the other two aren't right for you, then I've got a fourth and final option for you, the just good enough business. The just good enough model for building a multi-passionate business is where you aim to find one role, one business that you build that is stable, works long term, and pays the bills enough for you to push out your creativity into other areas that maybe don't pay. It's easy enough for you to do that you can essentially phone it in to an extent and then concentrate the rest of your time on the things that you really want to do. You often find that IT or web design are great outlets for this. It's somewhat known, it's somewhat easy for you if you've trained that. There's always a constant demand for it. You can time box this very, very well and then spend your attention on doing other stuff, whether that's building your own apps or music or writing or rewilding forests or whatever it is that you want to do outside of work. The pros of the just good enough model is that it gives you a lot of time and headspace for your other passions and obsessions. It's also relatively simple to run. It can be quite easy to outsource once you get going, and there's a relatively low emotional investment. So if it doesn't work out or you have to change it, you kind of haven't really lost anything. You haven't really staked your entire identity on it. The just good enough business is essentially financially rewarding, stable, but is not all consuming. There are downsides to the just good enough model, of course. It can feel really dull or disconnected from your purpose. You can find that it does end up taking more time, more of your energy, and if you don't have then the energy to do the stuff that you love, you're essentially stuck with a business that you don't really want to run. It also requires a lot of discipline to keep it just good enough. I've run just good enough businesses and I've found that I'm just constantly wanting to optimize them. I can't stand to have things not be as good as they want. The quality control kicks in and then I start really trying to excel in a particular area and I start putting tons and tons of energy, and before I know it, that's my main thing. I'm not making music, I'm not writing, I'm not reading, I'm not doing all of that stuff. So we've been through the four models. We've been through the Phoenix, we've been through the Slash, the group hug, and the just good enough models for building a multi-passionate business. But how do you know which one is right for you? Well, for me, I think it's about asking yourself two things. Firstly, what's your current energy like? If you're craving deep focus, something like the Phoenix model is probably the one for you. You want to use that, pick your area, and focus on that really deeply for 3 to 5 years, knowing that it's going to be fine to tear it all up and start over again. That's part of the plan. If, however, you need stability, then something like the just good enough model could be for you. When my boy was young, I focused on the just good enough model. That was worked for me. It gave me enough income. I focused mostly on consulting non-profits in the space that I knew really well. I reached out to my existing network. I worked really hard and I did good work and it satisfied me, but it wasn't the most challenging work that I could have done and I wasn't taking huge risks in doing it. The second thing I'd ask myself is, what do I need right now? If you are really craving variety and maybe even a bit of chaos, then you might want to look at the Slash model. Start doing a few things, start pushing at the edges, start seeing what might take off. If you're unsure of what you want to do, maybe the Slash model is a great way that you can experiment in multiple different disciplines. Similarly, I'm not sure if that's how you say that word, if you're looking for both meaning and creative freedom in equal measures, then I think something like the group hug business is probably the way to go. That's going to give you something that is going to sustain you over the years for the long term, and you can feel justified in pouring a lot of energy into it. Whatever type you are, start small and just be really specific. Think about which model it is that you want to do and be really intentional about approaching it. So if you're a Phoenix, pick a project that you can complete in 3 to 6 months. Give it a beginning, a middle, and an end, and see where it takes you. If you're a slash, sketch out your 2 to 3 core offers, see which one's going to suit you best, and then get started. If you're the group hug model, start building that container, start building the infrastructure that you know long-term is going to work for you, and be really patient at the beginning. And finally, if you want to build a just good enough model for your multi-potential business, pick the thing you're really good at, pick the thing where you know there's clients and demand, get started on that, get it up and running, and then the world is your oyster. The key is you don't need to build a business that you don't want to. You don't need to build a business that other people tell you that you have to build. You don't have to niche down if you don't want to. You can choose multiple paths to get ahead. What you need to do is build a business that is big enough for all of yourselves, your past self, your present self, and your future self. You need to build a business big enough to contain all of your interests, all of your passions, all of your skills. You need to build something that grows with your curiosity, flexes when you do. You need to build a business that you actually want to show up to and get excited about. Because people like you, multi-passionate people, well, you don't lack focus, you're not scattered, you're not indecisive. You just need encouragement and bravery to go wide and build things like I did on your own terms. You can be multi-offer, multi-medium, multi-path, you can be multi-anything as long as it's intentional. And remember, this isn't forever. We're building a business here that can change, that can grow with your curiosity, that can hold all of your learning and all of your potential. It's about alignment now, it's about making things work for you in the here and now, working with your energy and building the life that you want in the future that allows you to do the stuff that you love.